So the other day, I made a video explaining the differences between the Galaxy S6 and the iPhone 6s at that moment. So now it's time to take a look at the iPhone 7 versus the Samsung Galaxy S7 from both from 2016 and see how they've been holding up the last few years. I think it's been 2016, about 6 years since these things have came out. And it's pretty wild because going into 2023, these phones are probably more or less the same now than they were even the beginning of this year, which is pretty crazy. And I'll kind of explain that throughout this video. Now, I wouldn't really recommend using these phones. I wouldn't recommend buying these phones anymore. But if you still own an iPhone 7, I think it's still probably going to be okay. But if you want to purchase some other ones, links will be down in the description. You can get them from there, help support the channel at the same time. Now, side by side, there are some pretty big key differences. I do think on the hardware front, though, something like the Samsung Galaxy S7 may have held up a little bit better from the outside than the iPhone 7. So let me explain. First of all, you are getting a 5.1-inch super, AMOLED display on the front. And this type of phone has a beautiful display. I mean, even now it still looks very, very good. It is a 1440p display. If you look at this thing nowadays, like if there was a TV screen that was the same thing, that would be an amazing display. Although it's not perfect. Funny enough, though, the Galaxy S7 has a higher resolution display than the Samsung of this year, which is the Galaxy S22. So that in and of itself is a very funny thing. However, with the Galaxy S7, the display itself is still very, very good. 60 Hz definitely doesn't feel that smooth. You're getting thick bezels on the top and bottom. You're getting these capacitive keys as well as the fingerprint sensor that has a fingerprint sensor inside of it. But otherwise, still it's holding up very well in the front. The iPhone 7, on the other hand, has a smaller 4.7-inch IPS panel on the front. And it is definitely a smaller screen for sure, definitely not the perfect size of all time, but I would say this is probably the one area which doesn't hold up extremely well. This design is a little bit outdated. The iPhone SE2 still pretty much, or the SE3, as well looks kind of like this too. You have a bezel at the top and bottom. You only get one, kind of button here versus the two on the capacitive keys on the Galaxy S7, but I actually prefer not having a bunch of capacitive keys here, to be honest. So I will definitely say on the front, probably the Galaxy S7 definitely looks the best, as well as like the premiumness of these phones. I mean, if you look at the sides here, overall, because of this like curved side, at least curved little tiny back on the Galaxy S7, it makes it feel so much different a little bit compared to other phones. On the top, you don't really get anything on both of them. On the bottom, you do get micro USB port and a headphone jack on the Galaxy S7. The iPhone 7, on the other hand, only has a Lightning port. So kind of, a little bit of a difference there too, so something to keep in mind there. On the back too, we have a little bit of a different setup as well, which, is something to keep in mind. We have single camera setups on both, but the weird thing is if you can kind of see, the Galaxy S7's camera visibly looks bigger, but that doesn't necessarily mean it is like the better option for sure. You are also getting, still kind of different backs as well, which is another reason why I think the Galaxy S7 has held up better throughout time. You are getting this, glass back on the back of the Galaxy S7 versus the aluminum back on the iPhone 7. Throughout time, though, as you can see, I mean, I've owned this Galaxy S7 for like 3 or 4 years now. No cracked backs or anything on them. You are getting these little smudges or whatnot, so I would say there's a higher chance the Galaxy S7 may end up cracking more so than the iPhone 7. But regardless, they both still look pretty good on the outside. But I would say between both, the Samsung Galaxy S7 is probably the one that has held up overall better than the iPhone 7, at least in my opinion. It's not a crazy big deal, but it's one of those things to keep in mind. Now, at the outside of that, and probably beyond that, there's really not too many things going for the Galaxy S7 anymore, if I'm being honest. And the main reason why I say that is because the Galaxy S7 has pretty much been unsupported with software for many, many years now. And this is by far one of the worst things going for the Galaxy S7. And one of the main reasons and things that I love more about Samsung now is that they do support their phones for a much longer period of time. And versus on the iPhone 7, which I'll show you in a second, I think Android 8, as you can see, Android 8 is when this thing stopped. With the iPhone 7, this thing was still getting support up until this year. How crazy is that? This phone was still getting software support for so long that even now it just got unsupported basically on iOS 15.7. So it's pretty wild that iOS 15, I mean, it lasted way longer than the Galaxy S7 did. I think the Galaxy S7 got its last updated, I think in like 2019 or something. It's been like 2 or 3 years since that phone's got its last software update. There's been security updates here and there, but the iPhone 7 was still getting massive updates at that time, which is actually pretty wild. So that kind of covers it up here. I'll go and do a quick little speed test. It's probably not going to be anything crazy, but we'll just go and take a look. To be honest, I don't even know if I have any apps that are basically the same between them, but I guess we'll just kind of see what happens. If I go and click here, I'm going to go and hop out of all these apps here. Let's see which ones we have. We can do like phone calls, 3, 2, 1. Okay, well, actually, the iPhone 7 was a lot faster there than I thought. Let's go and hop out of here. Let's go into the internet browsers. 3, 2, 1. Okay, iPhone 7, definitely faster there. Galaxy S7, wanting us to update it. So, kind of an interesting pop up. Let's go and hop out of here. Let's go into their camera. 3, 2, 1. Okay, I think the iPhone 7 was slightly faster there too. Let's go and take a photo. Okay, I think it was faster on, actually, I don't know. Let's go and open up those photos. Okay, the iPhone 7 definitely faster. Let's go and hop out of these apps. The Galaxy S7 does seem like it gets into its main app drawer faster than the iPhone 7 still. Let's go into their Play Store and App Store. 3, 2, 1. Now I may have to log in here, which is very interesting. Again, this one had a little pop-up as well, but notice when I click out of these applications how much faster it is. Well, I kind of messed up there, but how much faster it would have been on the Galaxy S7. Now let's go ahead and click into another application I don't know. So I do have some few games that might be the same. So we can try Temple Run 2, 3, 2, 1. These are on two different versions of the game, so this one is probably on an older one, but we can still see if there's going to be a similarity or if there's differences. One's faster. Downloading content kind of on both. We did get into this pop-up. Very, very unfortunate. I don't even know why that ended up happening. So we're just gonna have to click something, and it looks like the touchscreen's not working there. So let's go hop out of this one. Let's go get into their next one, which is, let's see, Snapchat. I don't have here, and I guess that kind of covers up all the applications. I would have tested more, but it doesn't look like we have a lot of similarities. Settings. 3, 2, 1. Okay, Galaxy S7 I think was a little bit slower there. Scrolling through though too, I kind of see that the Galaxy S7 seems a little bit less smoother than the iPhone 7, but it seems faster. So as you can see, if you click out of it, it does seem like a faster experience on the Galaxy S7 than the iPhone 7, at least closing out of applications. But I think loading and the smoothness and everything probably goes for the iPhone 7. So I think in the performance segment, it's probably held up better over time. In the camera department though, this would be another interesting thing to kind of take a look at. With the Galaxy S7 and with the iPhone 7, you kind of had pretty good cameras. These were the best cameras, or some of the best cameras of that year. There were still single camera setups at that moment, but not like a crazy big deal. You had the 4K on the back, which was nice, but you didn't really have crazy great cameras, compared to nowadays. I mean, the cameras now are just like crazy. With the Galaxy S7, you still get like decent zooming out capability for that time. You still have this automatic whatever this thing is. You have the ability of video recording if you want. But that camera UI really wasn't the best. I mean, as you can see, this is what, the Samsung Experience camera UI used to look like. And definitely not the best one. We definitely have a lot more features nowadays. If you want a video record, you click there. You can start video recording. So, and definitely not the best camera of all time. I think that's definitely a clear option. With the iPhone 7, definitely I would say, I think nowadays it holds up better. I think I would argue that it probably has not more features, but it's just a little bit visually just more appealing. I think Samsung cameras nowadays definitely look better. But this one, I mean, at that time, it's actually pretty interesting to see how good of a job Apple did at that moment, I guess. And, the features and everything are still holding up fairly well. So definitely not the best camera either, but I think it still holds up fairly decently. So to kind of sum up this video, I mean, you can kind of get an idea of how good of a job Apple did with the iPhone 7 and how good of a job Samsung did with the Galaxy S7. I think the iPhone 7, software-wise and feature-wise, has probably held up better just because it does actually have, just kind of a little bit more of a future ahead of it, or had more of a future than the Galaxy S7. The Galaxy S7 in the hardware standpoint is phenomenal. The screen looks just beautiful. The build quality is very, very good. The cameras aren't really that bad, just the UI is kind of outdated. It's still kind of a decently fast phone. It's definitely not something worth using, but it's still kind of fast. You get wireless charging, which is nice too. And overall, I think the Galaxy S7 is more surprising. Although the iPhone 7 lasted longer, the Galaxy S7 lasted longer, it probably would still be a kind of interesting device. So that kind of covers it up. If you have any other thoughts or questions, let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button, that would mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video.